Hello and welcome to the Business Standard Morning Show. I'm Kanishka Gupta and let's have a look at the stories for the day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a 3 trillion rupees package for reforms in the power distribution sector last week, while blaming freebies culture for the mounting dues of the Discoms. So, will this package address the problems plaguing the country's power sector, or there is more to be done to lift it out of its current crisis? Our next report offers some insight.
Launching the 3 trillion rupee revamped distributor sector scheme last week, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged states to clear their unpaid dues, estimated to be a staggering 2.5 trillion rupees, to distribution and generating companies. He said clearing these bills was not a case of politics but nation building. According to Power Ministry data, states and union territories together owed more than 1.1 trillion rupees to generating companies, while the total money owed to the Discoms stood at 1.4 trillion rupees. The vast majority of consumers in India, nearly 90%, are still served by state-owned utilities. But Discoms continue to be the weakest link in the supply chain of the power sector, with most of them making losses as a result of expensive long-term power purchase agreements, poor infrastructure, and inefficient operations, among others. The losses prevent them from making the required investments to modernize the distribution infrastructure and improve the quality of power supply. The Discoms' inability to pay GenCos, in turn, endangers the financial health of the generators and their lenders, causing a negative domino effect on the economy. The revamped distribution sector scheme is the fifth Discom bailout scheme from the centre in the past 2 decades and the third by the PM Modi-led government alone. The scheme will offer Discoms financial assistance for infrastructure creation, including prepaid smart metering and feeder separation, upgradation of systems, etc., based on pre-qualifying criteria. The overall aim is to reduce pan-Indian aggregate technical and commercial losses to 12 to 15% from the current 21.73%, and the gap between the average cost of supply and average revenue realized to zero by FY25 from the current 0.39 rupees per kilowatt hour. 38 Discoms have received funding approval to the tune of 1.9 trillion rupees after meeting the qualification criteria. The schemes implemented so far have not been able to ensure a sustainable turnaround of both finances and operations of the Discoms. In May, the government notified a scheme to liquidate overdues that Discoms owe GenCos by enabling them to pay their dues in 48 installments. According to CRISIL, the success of the scheme will depend on how Discoms are able to enhance their revenues and an enforcement mechanism that ensures timely payment to GenCos. Many states provide subsidized and sometimes free electricity for agriculture. The total of annual power subsidy schemes and financial assistance across a sample of 5 highly indebted states like Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Andhra Pradesh, Punjab and Rajasthan adds up to 42,155 crore rupees. Further, theft of electricity continues to be rampant in many parts of the country.
In fact, as far as the subsidy quantum is concerned, the subsidy dependence is pretty inherent and it has gone up. It's as high as 1.5 lakh crore for a sector as a whole. Based on our estimates in current financial year, that roughly contributes almost 19% of the Discom revenues. So the subsidy receipt has to be adequate and timely, from the respective state governments towards the state Discoms. Over the next, 3 to 5 years, this RDSS scheme essentially talks about, initiatives in smart metering and distribution capex, strengthening schemes. So we have to wait and watch how these schemes get, panned out and implemented in a timely manner to bring about the AT&C loss level improvement for the number of state Discoms. There has to be a proper discipline by the state Discoms in terms of filing the tariff petitions in a timely manner. We have seen number of delays in tariff petition filing as well, and also subsequent delays in the tariff order issuance by the respective, state level electricity commission bodies across the states. In fact, the tariff orders are still pending for the larger states for the Discoms in larger states like, UP, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, and West Bengal, and so on. And if you look at the overall quantum of the tariff hike, for the current year, it's still pretty low. It's about 2.2% median tariff hike based on the analyzed data for the various tariff orders issued across the number of states, almost 18 states, I guess. And this number is somewhat higher vis-a-vis on a YOY basis, because the last year that number was less than 1% in FY21, and even before that it was almost zero. So we have certainly seen some improvement in terms of upward tariff revision on a aggregate basis, but this number is still lower than and likely to be far inadequate in terms of what is required to meet the cost of supply, because the cost of supply for the state Discoms is on upward pressure because of rising imported coal dependency for the entire power sector. In addition to the timeliness in tariff order issuance, what is also required is a cost-reflective tariff determination. And to that extent, upward tariff revision is certainly required for a number of states.
There has been some headway from states. For instance, the Tamil Nadu government has proposed an electricity tariff hike after a gap of 8 years, though experts say the quantum of hike is not enough to overcome the state Discom's financial crisis. The latest scheme focuses on capex, and a certain portion of the outlay under it will be in the form of grants. The availability of these grants will be subject to the concerned state Discoms meeting certain performance milestones, which will be monitored by the concerned nodal agency over the next 5 years. So, there is clearly an attempt to make the scheme result-oriented. However, the distribution segment is a state subject. Thus, strong political will and support is required across state governments for the scheme to succeed.
सब अच्छी दिख रही हैं यार, कौन सी खरीदूं?
ये तो वही बात हुई, 4000 शेयर्स लिस्टेड है, कौन सा लूं?
वो तो सबसे आसान है।
तुझे 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा पर है 4000 स्टॉक्स की रिसर्च, टेक्निकल टूल्स और इन्वेस्टमेंट आइडियाज। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है, investing made easy and rewarding with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
From the stalemate on power subsidies, let us move on to the one on chessboards. A small town about 50 kilometers off Chennai is all decked up, hosting India's first Chess Olympiad. But a lot of efforts have gone into bringing the coveted international event to Punjari village in Tamil Nadu's Mamallapuram, a UNESCO heritage site. Officials and chess wizards from 187 countries are brainstorming there. Our next report tells more.
Not the big fancy sporting hubs of Chennai or Delhi, but a town famous for its tourism and historical spectacles, Mamallapuram is hosting the Chess Olympiad. Located about 50 kilometers from Chennai, this is the second big event that Tamil Nadu's coastal town has anchored in recent times. The first being a political one, an informal summit between Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping 2 years ago. Mamallapuram's excellent transport connectivity, handful of luxury star hotels and resorts with beach-facing rooms to incorporate influx of VVIPs, and the historical importance worked in favor of the seaport town. Also, the relatively calmer environment as compared to the big cities meant that players after the games would relax in the lap of nature. After the event was pulled out of Russia due to the Ukraine war, the All India Chess Federation AICF sniffed an opportunity. With no financial backing or sponsors at the time, the federation went out of its way to show its interest in hosting the event. But to host an international event of such a scale that usually takes years to organize, the AICF was racing against the time. This is where the state and central government authorities stepped in. The Tamil Nadu government backed the federation by guaranteeing $10 million to put up a bid in the first place. Together, the state and the centre have allocated 100 crore rupees for the event. the central ministries wasted no time in clearing the visas for players from over 180 countries. India's international standing in the world of chess also helped. In the last 8 years, Indian chess grandmasters have more than doubled to 75. India has the world's largest chess playing population with 33,000 internationally rated players. Despite several controversies and infightings, the Chess Federation came out with flying colours in a nurturing, long-term chess ecosystem. The 44th edition of the Chess Olympiad, which is held every 2 years, has a record participation with 343 teams from 187 countries. To accommodate over 2,000 players in the mix, the National Chess Federation worked proactively at breakneck speed to rope in major sponsors. The AICF worked out subsidies for national federations, which lacked the resources to send teams. Several international players have taken to social media platforms to laud the arrangements.
It is actually typically a story of that Amitabh Bachchan movie. मेरी जेब में एक पैसा नहीं है और मैं करोड़ों का सौदा करने आया. The biggest challenge was to have it in 4 months. But I'm glad that government of Tamil Nadu was big support, and people are not giving enough credit to government of India. Actually, without government of India also it is not possible. When we saw finalize this venue, that time we were expecting after COVID entries will be around 120 to 25 countries. So we never thought 185 countries will be there. So suddenly the demand for the bigger area increased because a lot of more players, then we should have a more area to make them play. Invitations, visas, travel, I mean, everything. I mean, it is like we are running with Usain Bolt. See, we expect there is a change of an era of chess in India, because before the Olympiad and after the Olympiad there will be a big difference. A lot of people will join chess. A lot of new people. It is not only important for chess. See, we have never had such a large number of countries participating in any event in India, and it is good for the country.
The organizers pulled out all stops and went on a marketing blitzkrieg in making the Olympiad a success, and also to take the event deep into India and around the world. Chennai, with the iconic Napier Bridge wearing checkered black and white look, a spectacle of an opening ceremony involving A.R. Rahman and Rajnikant was held, and a ubiquitous mascot Thambi with folded hand greetings is featured everywhere, from milk packets to billboards. The sponsors and authorities were also a step ahead by adopting new technologies like virtual reality and artificial intelligence to give an immersive experience to the fans. Tech Mahindra has launched Fan Next, where users can track the board moves of top players in the event.
This is the first time that there was this Olympic torch relay happened in India. This started in India for the first time, and I was fortunate enough to carry the torch in some of the places, and I saw live the enthusiasm of people related to chess, related to Chess Olympiad, and I never saw in my career that there was so much craziness, there so much love for the game, which we are used to see for sports like cricket or football. But something similar happening for chess is actually definitely a positive thing for the game. Already we have seen that many top corporate have supported financially for this Olympiad, and they are associated with this with the sport, and we can hope that in future we'll get such sponsorship from many other corporates. I can just give one example that in the year 1983, when India won the World Cup, actually it became a kind of game changer. We can see that what happened afterwards for the game of cricket. So I think this Olympiad can as well be a game changer for the game of chess.
A successful Chess Olympiad will for sure put India on a high pedestal, showcasing its ability to host such events of scale, and hopefully more such events will follow. It will also help make chess become more mainstream.
मत पूछ यार, फिर से स्टॉक्स में फंस गया।
तो स्टॉक्स के साथ बॉन्ड्स, इंश्योरेंस, गोल्ड में बैलेंस कर।
इसमें बहुत तामझाम है।
तुझे 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा है ऑल इन वन अकाउंट। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है। Investing made easy and rewarding with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Let us move on to markets now. Domestic equity markets firmed up in July as slower FII outflows, ease in commodity prices, and robust corporate earnings lifted investors' spirits. But is the recent recovery sustainable, or is it only a short-term bounce? We answer these questions in our next report.
The Sensex and Nifty benchmark indices rose 9% each in July as investors moved past concerns of inflation amid resilient corporate earnings and supportive global cues. The respite followed a recovery in the US, where the frontline Dow Jones, S&P 500 and Nasdaq indices advanced 7 to 12% in July, registering their biggest monthly gains since 2020. V.K. Vijay Kumar, Chief Investment Strategist at Geojit Financial Services, attributes the rebound back home to foreign investors, which turned net buyers last month after 9 months of relentless selling. FIIs bought around 5,000 crore rupees of shares in July in a sharp divergence from net outflows of 50,000 crore rupees in June. Further aiding the sentiment has been the consistent fall in crude oil prices, which are now 16% down to around $103 a barrel from the year's high of $123 a barrel. This, as per analysts, could be a key trigger for recovery in global as well as domestic markets. G. Chokalingam, founder and chief investment officer at Economics Research, says US Fed balance sheet reduction plan and oil price would remain the key risk factors in the short term. We believe that the domestic markets may rise further for a couple of weeks amid volatility and intermittent corrections. Moreover, the recent contraction in US GDP for the second straight quarter has heightened fears of a recession in the developed markets. G. Chokalingam believes that India would be a major gainer of any possible mild recession across the world, as oil prices can fall steeper in such a possible scenario, thus arresting rising inflation. That said, technical charts also indicate near-term bullishness for the markets.
Both the benchmark indices, BSE Sensex and Nifty 50, have scaled 200 days moving average and hinting at a fresh upside. For Sensex, 200 days moving average comes to 57,135, and for Nifty it is at 17,020 levels. Earlier in April this year, both indices did show positive momentum about 200 DMA. However, they failed to show sustainability, due to which they hit fresh 52 weeks lows. Now when both the indices have scaled the sentimental mark of 57,000 and 17,000 on Nifty, a move about 200 days moving average is signaling at fresh all-time highs. For Sensex it would be 62,000 and for Nifty it would be 19,000 levels.
Today, Adani Green, Bank of India, Deepak Nitrite, Godrej Properties, Siemens, Lemon Tree and Voltas will be on investors' radar ahead of their June quarter results. The street will also react to the earnings of Zomato, ITC and UPL.
तुम इतना डर गए? अब क्या किया?
शेयर्स में ट्रेडिंग।
तुम्हें 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
ओए, अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा पर मिलते हैं रिसर्च टूल्स, पोर्टफोलियो एनालिटिक्स और इन्वेस्टमेंट आइडियाज भी। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है। Investing made easy and rewarding with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
While our previous segment offered a peek into the ongoing action on Mumbai's Dalal Street, our next one will help you take a tour of the country's financial alley. Google Street View was relaunched in India recently, about 6 years after being banned from the country. Let us know more about it.
Do you want to take a virtual tour of Delhi's Red Fort? Almost as if you were actually strolling among its palaces, pavilions, and mosques. You can do just that thanks to Google Street View. Such a tour is made possible because Street View is a virtual representation of your surroundings on Google Maps made up of millions of panoramic images. Google Street View provides the viewer with interactive panoramas from different positions along streets across many parts of the world. Basically, you get a 360-degree view of streets, tourist spots, and landmarks. Launched in 2007 in a number of cities in the United States, it has since expanded worldwide, including even rural areas. If Street View imagery is available for a certain street, then it is shown as a blue line on Google Maps. The interactive panoramas are made up of VR photographs that have been stitched together. While most of the photography is done by car, everything from camels, boats, and snowmobiles to good old footpower has also been used. So how did Google manage to finally bring back this feature to India? Street View is coming to India after changes in the country's geospatial guidelines. In February 2022, the Department of Science and Technology had released guidelines for geospatial data. The policy restricts foreign firms to an accuracy of 1 meter. It also mandates that such companies will have to use application programming interfaces from authorized domestic licensees. As a result, the collection and ownership of data will remain with local entities. However, under the new guidelines, Google is allowed to collect and use geospatial imagery in India through partnerships with local firms. The policy even identifies excluded areas like government and military locations, thus resolving security concerns. So, this time, Google has launched Street View in India in collaboration with Tech Mahindra and Genesis International, a mapping and geospatial company. This is the first time that the service will be handled completely by local partners. Street View will be available in India with imagery licensed from local partners. To begin with, the service will cover over 150,000 kilometers across 10 cities. And the plan is to expand the service to more than 50 cities by the end of 2022.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.
The Street View feature was launched in India in 2011, only to be banned in 2016 over security concerns. Google submitted another proposal for bringing the service to India in 2018, but that too was rejected. Finally, it got the approval last month. That is all for today. We will be back with more news and analysis on our next episode. Stay tuned and thank you for watching. If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.